And it seems like an age ago when I was in Washington for the US election. Yet we still don't have an official result, and Donald Trump is refusing to concede as he claims the election was rigged, and he runs legal challenges in a range of battleground states. Now, whatever you think of Trump, and no matter how far-fetched are the claims that these results will be overturned, you can't ignore the fact that significant anomalies have been revealed and some recounts have been triggered. Well, except at the ABC, where, of course, everything is black and white.
Almost no Republicans are repeating the more inflammatory claims Donald Trump has made.
It's being called by some one of the worst performances by a US president ever, as the major networks stopped broadcasting Donald Trump's baseless claims today, his campaign to undermine the integrity of the vote.
The Trump supporters were being fed an unremitting diet of grievance by the president, who tweeted he won because the election was rigged. Donald Trump then followed up with falsehoods claiming there were no vote watchers or observers allowed.
The president remains in denial about his election loss, with baseless tweets about election fraud. His favourite social media platform has revealed just how far it's gone to stop misinformation during the election.
OK, he has continued to tweet false claims. We believe these people are thieves. This was a stolen election.
OK, we get it. Whatever Trump says or does is outrageous, according to the ABC. But I'm old enough to remember the last US election, yes, just 4 years ago, when the losers made even more extraordinary allegations than Trump has this year. The Democrats claimed that as the 2016 Republican candidate, Trump had colluded with the Russians to win the election. And the ABC did away with scepticism and went for gullibility.
Welcome to Four Corners. Tonight we begin our special three-part investigation into the story of the century, the election of US President Donald Trump and his ties to Russia.
To go to the American election, do you understand now, do we understand what Putin's strategy was? What did he set out to achieve?
And then swirling around all of this was the president's own bizarre attack on his Attorney General, trying to force his own appointment out of the job. And that was then stoking fears that Donald Trump was gearing up to fire the special counsel Robert Mueller, who's investigating the Trump campaign and its ties with Russia, and that if he did that, it would potentially spark a crisis to rival Watergate.
And while Donald Trump denies colluding with Russia, he did benefit from malicious activity targeting his opponent Hillary Clinton during the campaign.
It outlines a massive conspiracy between Donald Trump and the Russian government, a list of allegations which, if proven, would constitute by far the biggest attack on American democracy in history.
But Democratic Senator Mark Warner says that's beside the point, and that these emails confirm what the Trump campaign has been denying all along.
That there clearly was a Russian government effort to discredit Clinton and to help Trump, and that Trump officials at the most senior level were aware of that.
It was the biggest intrusion into Democratic Party operations since Watergate, and it's a huge part of why Donald Trump was elected president.
The White House has been tight-lipped about what they'll discuss, but one thing is for sure, Donald Trump is unlikely to raise Russia's alleged interference in the US elections.
If Russian intelligence does have compromising information on Donald Trump, is it likely that they'd use it, and how would they do so?
You have to laugh, don't you? The very same people who are now slamming Trump for contesting this election result in the courts 4 weeks after it was held spent 4 years running fanciful conspiracy theories about the last election result. They'll believe anything if it suits their ideological side. And while we're at it, have a look at this deliberate deception from our old mate Paul Barry at Media Watch, who produces the nation's most expensive and most dishonest television show every week. And because I keep calling them out at Media Watch, they'll do anything to do me in. Their latest is just one of a long list of deceptive attempts to discredit me. You'd think that in the wake of the US election, for instance, any credible media show would be criticising the ABC for getting it wrong again. They told audiences it would be a blue wave for the Democrats, a stark repudiation of Donald Trump, with Joe Biden winning in a landslide, taking the Senate as well. But no, Barry wouldn't do that, would he? Instead, he pretended. No, it's worse than pretending. He deliberately deceived his audience to try to give them the impression that I had called the election wrong. Here's what he put to air.
And back in those early stages of the count, as Trump took Florida by a comfortable margin and held huge leads in Michigan, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, none had gloated more than Chris Kenney.
So this has been a big win for mainstream values against the elites. It's been a big win for democracy against a media push and a so-called elites push to tell them what they were going to do. And I've got to tell you, if you weren't watching Sky News in Australia, this will all come as an absolute surprise to you. Well, it wasn't early in the count. It was 2 a.m. in Washington, but I wouldn't expect Barry to either work that out or stay up that late. But the real deception here is Media Watch pretending to catch me out calling the election for Trump. That's clearly the impression Barry wanted to create, even though he knew it was not true. He knows my live commentary deep into that election night argued the strong showing by Trump was a win for the mainstream, no matter who won the election. And that at Sky, we had told you that this would be the case. We told you that many mainstream voters would stand by Trump. That was my whole thesis. And just to prove the point, here are some of the bits from that very same clip. This is the very same live editorial that Barry must have watched and then deceptively edited to give a false impression, to create some fake news. We still do not know who will be the president for the next 4 years. As it stands now, Donald Trump is best placed to serve a second term. Look at the states of Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. He's ahead in all three of those. If he wins two, he can't be defeated by Joe Biden. We won't get an answer to this tonight. While we can't say for certain who the winner will be, and we've told you for many, many days that this is likely to be the case, that we're likely to have a night where there is no declared winner, where we have to wait for more counting, where we could possibly face some court challenges in the future. But while we don't know who's won the election, whether it's a narrow loss for Donald Trump or a win, which at this stage I would say is a bit more likely. They wanted, of course, Joe Biden to win. We'll see if that happens. But if he wins, they want to push him to what they're planning to do if Joe Biden gets the White House. For the first time in this campaign, I think for the first time in his political career, we heard Donald Trump actually countenance the prospect of failing, actually countenance the prospect of losing. Hey, Donald Trump actually saying that he could lose. Now, at the moment, it looks like he could win. If in the end the counting does turn against him and the legal challenges fall aside, then hopefully he would do so gracefully and talk about national unity. Let's hope the Democrats would do the same if they lose this. So we need graceful losers' consent from one side or the other here. But let's see if it's enough to keep him in the White House for another 4 years. He saw all that. He clipped all that out and gave you a completely dishonest impression. And on social media, of course, they lapped up his fake news and tweeted directly to Barry with exactly the fake news take that he intended, which, of course, he never corrected. Now, believe me, after all the filth and lies the ABC has thrown at me over the decades, simply because I dare to challenge them and their worldview, this is all water off a duck's back to me. The point is, what does it say about accountability? What does it say about their commitment to truth and facts? And what does it say about how they're willing to abuse the very tax dollars that we give them?